Hey guys, back with another episode of Taco Imposters for Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. Man, it's 2026 already. I know the stereotypical cliche. Oh, it's 2026. Oh no. Whatever. Like, yeah. Man, time flies, but it does fly. It's like kind of crazy. Anyway, all I'm saying is I'm just like kind of, yeah, okay. Anyway, I haven't made an episode. I don't know if I made a single episode last year. I'll have to check. I can check right now if I made an episode this last year. It's... I can check on the Spotify for Podcasters website. Let's see. Let me see. Creator, I'm going to check. I think it's this, and I think it's this one. I'm not sure, though. No Spotify account with... No way. That's not true. Okay. So, yeah. All I'm saying is... Oh, sorry. So, yeah. That's it. So, I don't know if I had that... I don't know. Anyway, I can't check it now. It's not logging in properly. No, it logged in fine. Okay. Okay, so we'll log in with that one at least. Let me see if that's the right account. All I'm saying is I don't know if I ever actually made an account. I made a single episode last year. I think I did like one or two and then never did anything else. For whatever reason. No, that's not right. That's the wrong account. That's the wrong account. Okay, so let me try a different account. No, sign out. That's not right. Log out. I'm going to log in. I'm going to log in. So email would be... There we go. Okay, cool. So now, yeah, all I'm saying, I'm just trying to say that like I don't know if I made a single episode last year. I feel like I did do like one or two and then just never even cared, but this is a good episode. I don't know what episode this is. But yeah, it's like 200 something. I don't know. Yeah, so I was thinking about somebody talking about how... Because somebody was talking about how... Oh, it was... what's his name? It was Pat Contry talking about how on the Not So Common podcast, and I think Ian agreed with him, that it was like this idea that this is the year of people trying to figure out what the heck... Is there a use case for... What's it called? Yeah. Is there a use case for... Yeah, I think May 19th was the last episode. Oh my gosh. Almost a year ago. That's incredible. Okay. Yeah, like, for AI. It's like, okay, is there a use for AI? Or are you just going to, like... Right? I think there's two things this year that's going to happen. This year is going to be the year of the Linux desktop, meaning, by what I mean by that is, the Linux desktop meaning that people are going to, like, figure out what's the point of the Linux, right? And then the other one is, or what's the point, sorry. They're going to think, okay, well, why am I using Windows? Is Linux good? Because, to me, no offense, Linux is good enough. Seriously, Linux is, like, totally fine. For 99% of people who just use it for productivity stuff, like my mother, my father, my brother is a little bit like, he doesn't want to learn all the stupid little syntaxes and all the, like, ways of doing things, but he doesn't care. If you, like, explained it to him well enough and said to him, look, it's just kind of not so impossible anymore, I think he would realize, he'd be like, okay, it's not that bad. Because it really isn't. The thing is, he doesn't want to learn all the little technical stuff. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Like, you have to learn Linux, you know? Like, Windows is just kind of like, oh, you figure out what you do with Windows? No, Linux is like, you have to learn it. There's a learning curve. Which is fair. There's a learning curve. But my mother and my father were both... I would call my father tech illiterate, and I would call my mother, like, willing to learn. But if she doesn't have to, she doesn't want to, and she's not doesn't easily grasp things. You have to like explain it to her and teach her stuff. And so because of that, I think I see that there are good candidates for like, oh, this is a good example of, I showed it to basically nobody. Right? I showed it to basically like dum-dums. Tech dum-dums, especially to Linux. They know literally nothing about Linux. They know literally nothing about Linux, and they somehow have figured out how to use it for 4 or 5 months. 3 or 4 or 5 months. My mother's been using it for like about 3 months. My dad's been using it for about 4 or 5. And it's like, not, because that's the thing. It's the episode of the Linux challenge that Linus and Luke did on LTT, where it's very much, if you are a productivity person, you're using productivity software, you're using the internet, email for emails, maybe watching some videos, opening a PDF, and doing office tasks, Office Writer, Word, a Word document, what's that thing called? An Excel sheet, a spreadsheet, that kind of stuff, PowerPoint. It's totally usable. We've already come to the point of it's already the year of the Linux in the sense that, oh yeah, you don't even have to worry about it. It's for the people who do very specific things, like, oh no, Linux won't help me with this one, or Linux can't get me this, or Linux can't get me that, or Linux is not good enough for this, or it won't help me with this, or blah blah blah. Like, or I want to video edit the right way, properly. I want to use Adobe software. I want to use, whatever. I've got this program. I've got that program, or whatever. That's the people, or gaming, where people are still to this day like, it's not perfect in gaming. It doesn't help me. It doesn't do it. Like, sure, those people fine. But for 99% of the people using a computer in this day and age, people talk about, there's like a meme that's like, this hardcore workstation, this hardcore like gaming tower, hardcore workstation. You got a hardcore workstation to browse Facebook, to browse Reddit, to read emails, to write a Word document. You could write it on your phone in a text editor. Like, it's not, like, you don't need this crazy anything. It's like, yeah, you don't. And that's the thing. You don't. And also, it keeps older hardware running. My mother and my father both had, I'm pretty sure my father, I'm not sure about my father though. My mother, I'm almost guaranteed, but my father, his computer might have been Windows 11 capable. But it doesn't matter. All I'm saying is, my mother's was not. She has 2 laptops that are 100% just not capable of running Windows 11. And I just know that for a fact. And so I'm like, hey, I gave her a second life. I gave those laptops a second life. I gave one of them. I mean, I didn't do the other one yet, but I gave one of her laptops a second life. It's actually kind of amazing how that laptop would have gone to a landfill. Laptop would have just been like, oh, sorry, it's now obsolete. Oh, no. Because she could have stayed on Windows 10, but it's very unsafe. So I was like, you're going to have to change. She's like, okay, fine. But I don't want to learn. It's like, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. And she figured it out like, oh, wow. For 99% of the things, it just works. And it's like, yes. For the things you want it to do, it just works. And I'm like, yeah, and she's like, wow, this is actually mind-blowing. How just, I don't even think about the operating system. Because the thing, a good operating system is the operating system you don't even think about. It's like what Linus said, where they had a thing on the WAN show once where they were like, would you pay for desktop? Or would you pay for an OS? So he said, OS has a subscription service. He said, yes, but then he stopped and thought for a second and went, actually, no, because the operating system just gets out of my way. For Windows itself, for Windows 7, I think at the time it was still Windows 7. So it's like 2014 or so. So I think it was still Windows 7. And so for him, he was like, no, because it just gets out of my way. I never think about the operating system. It's like, that's a good operating system. Like, my mother felt like, I don't even think about the operating system. Like, for the 3 or 4, I was taking a shower and thinking, oh my God, shower thoughts where I was like, my mother and my father have never had to touch the terminal ever. They didn't have to. I touched the terminal for them to fix some things. Like, I added a terminal thing to try and change the scrolling of the scroll wheel. Like, his scroll wheel on his is, like, awful. But I think it might be because his mouse is just terrible, not because the actual scroll wheel, gestures, are bad. Or he did something weird and we changed some settings somewhere and we modified some file or something somewhere and now it's all screwy. Anyway, all I'm saying is, I had to touch the terminal, but he has never had to touch the terminal once. the 4 or 5 months he's had it, and my mother the 3 or 4 months she's had it. She's been using Linux Mint. We decided to go with Mint because my friend suggested it, and I had heard about it, and I tried Pop OS, and it was awful, so bad. It there's always problems. Then I said I don't want to give that to my parents. That's ridiculous. All I'm saying is, and it's also hard to get onto certain kernels and certain security stuff and secure boots and all that, and certain BIOSes. Forget it. I'm not gonna bother with it. So I just gave him Mint because it's very close to Windows. Anyway, all I'm saying is, the first time they never had to touch it. For the times they've used Linux Mint, they've never had to touch the terminal. And it's kind of mind-blowing how we've gotten to this point where, yeah, no, we just don't. We just don't need to use a terminal for basically anything. Yes, because the problem is, okay, you want to know something? Okay, so here's a good reason why you shouldn't even touch a terminal if you don't know what you're doing, really, because you shouldn't just grab, or at least you shouldn't grab random commands, because for me, what happened was, my computer was taking, literally a minute to get to the desktop from the login. So I get to login, and it would turn on quickly, right? But I got to the login, and it would take a minute, and I'd be like, at least a minute, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, or just about a minute, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. So I asked someone, well, why is it taking 1 minute to get to the login? And he goes, and I said, oh, it's not just a login, it's like opening any file anywhere, file explorers, or when some program asks where you want to save a file, it takes a minute. I'm not joking, a minute to open. And I was like, and he was like, okay, go to, I think it's called, what's it called? It's called Disk Usage Analyzer, right? He goes, go to disk, or he used the word, I think BOB or something. Anyway, Disk Analyzer. He said, open it. I said, okay. So I opened it. I was like, okay. So I opened it, and he's like, go into this directory. I said, okay. So I went into this directory, right? So he said, go into this directory. So I went into this directory, and what did he see? He's like, okay, those are weird encrypted files. Or first he says, did you encrypt your drive at any point? Maybe it takes a while because it's trying to get into the files that are encrypted and locked and has whatever. And he's like, I said, I don't know. I don't think so. And then he goes, okay, let's just check. So he goes in there and he finds all these encrypted files, and he goes, those don't look normal. Those look like malware. Or sorry, not malware. Or ransomware. And I went, oh gosh, I have ransomware? And he's like, yeah, don't worry. He said, delete them. And I goes, okay, so select them and delete them. I said, okay. So I tried to delete one, and it said, can't get out, can't move to folder, not allowed kind of thing. Don't have permission to move don't have permission to move to the trash folder. I'm like, oh. So I said, yeah, what's this? And he goes, it's probably encrypted. It's probably locked. It's probably not allowed to do that. It's probably, and even if you could get rid of them, I fear they'll just come back. They're a multiplying worm, and it looks bad, and it's ransomware, and it's bad. It's not necessarily going to do super harm to your computer, although I don't know. He said, although I don't know what it does. So I was like, oh no, because he was like, this guy was like, I was on the Discord server for Linux Mint Discord server, and so he was like, yeah, I don't know if it's going to do anything bad to your system. Kind of implying you could probably leave it, but if it's just kind of annoying. But he's like, I would say reinstall. But I don't know what it does, so it could be really, really bad. All I'm saying is I think you should uninstall Linux Mint, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, I said, that's gonna be annoying and a hassle to have to reinstall everything. But it's like, yeah, but better than I said. He said he used to do it all the time. He's like, oh, I had to do it all the time when I was a kid, back when I was 12, 13, 14. I'm like, oh, okay. Still, it's annoying. He's like, yeah, it's annoying, but it's better than having ransomware. I was telling my friend that, and he's like, yeah, better than having ransomware. And he said, how did this even happen, though? My friend was asking me, how does this even happen? How did you even get that point? And he goes, well, the guy's best guess was you just downloaded something from a sketchy website or used a sketchy command. Because I said to my friend, I'm like, when a new person or a noob, someone who just knows nothing about technology, just blindly follows either a YouTube tutorial or a text tutorial, and it said it's supposed to do this, but it really could be malware and spyware and adware and Trojans and ransomware. Yeah, okay. He's like, yeah. That's probably what happened. He's like, oh, that makes sense. It's the kind of thing where I didn't maliciously click something that was bad. I just didn't even know what I was doing and just grabbed the random, grabbed a random command, thinking, oh yeah, because it said this. It could have been malicious. Or sorry, it wasn't malicious. It actually was malicious, but oh, it disguised itself as, or it was like a Trojan where it disguised itself as one thing, or I downloaded a software from a sketchy place or a sketchy repository, right? I'm just all I'm saying is that's exactly why you don't tell people to just look up and do the first like terminal command that you have to do, because that's the thing. I've never in my life had to actually, except for like when I wanted to flash a hard drive, or a storage device. It was an easier way to do it through the terminal in Windows, right? I don't know how to do it in a GUI. I'm sorry. I memorized it for a brief moment there. I knew it by heart, how to like what the commands were and how to do it. Disk utilities and disk this and give me this and give me that. Like what commands to use. I don't remember them now because I haven't used Windows daily in a year, probably just about a year. So all I'm saying is, for Windows I mean, my mother even used a Mac for a brief period of time at work. She was given a work MacBook, and she loved it. She's like, this is great. I like it because it just works, right, for a lot of things. The thing was, all I'm saying is, for Windows and Mac, like my family has never, ever had to touch the terminal, like ever. So this is a whole new thing when you're like telling them, oh, you have to use a terminal. A terminal what? Because like, terminal's not that hard to figure out. I figured it out. But then also people talk about it, like the Linux community talks about it like, well, the terminal's not some scary thing. You shouldn't be scared of the terminal. It's really only good for this or that, or... you shouldn't be scared of it. Don't be scared of the terminal. You shouldn't be scared of the terminal. Just, make sure, whatever. It's like, oh. Yeah, but the problem is that when you look at it, it's very much a scary, like, if you've never used a terminal, you think the terminal is some scary, awful, no good, very bad place that you never want to touch. It seems like, it feels like the, what do you call it? It feels like, what's that called? It feels like DOS, like you're back into DOS where you have to know all these commands on how to get to what you want, how to know how to use a computer. Like it feels like you're back to having to know how to use a computer to use a computer. Because I remember the episode of the Not So Common podcast with Pat Contry when he was talking to Metal Jesus, Jason Silver or something, Jason, right? Metal Jesus, right? And he's talking about how, like, you don't have to know... Because he compares computers to cars. And he goes, there was a point in time when you needed to know how to use how a car worked to drive a car. Because it was, it was a Model T or an old car where you had to crank it. You had to know how to use it. And you had to, like, put in oil. And you had to know how to use a steam engine. And you had to put it all together. And it was great. Like, it was, like, a complicated mess. But now, when was the last time you had to know anything about a car? When was the last person who had to know anything about a car to get a driver's license? I know in the UK, in England... in Britain and England, they give you like a very minimal, like you need to know at least a little bit about a car, how an engine works, how all the stuff works to run a car, to use a car, to get a driver's license. But here in North America, not even close. Like I could be the most car illiterate mechanical person ever and still get a driver's license. Like I have a driver's license. Think I know anything about the internal combustion engine? Not really. I mean, I know a little bit. It's not like terrible. Pistons and the rods and like all the V8s and kind of a little bit, but not enough to like know how to, like, if I repair an engine, to work on an engine in any way. All I'm saying is he compared it to he compared computers to cars, where he's like, nobody has to know how to use a computer anymore. Gone are the days when you had to learn and know how to get rid of this and take off this file and remove print file and config file and dot this and figure out how to do this and what's this and remove this driver because it takes up too much space to run this one, and then the sound files, and no, gone are the days where you have to know anything. Your keyboard is there's very little you do on your keyboard nowadays. I remember an episode of it was OS First Timer, that show where they have it's a mother and a son, and the son's showing his mother all these OSs. And he just pulls up like Windows 10. It's like a normal Windows 10, but he says you're not using the mouse, and it proves how, like, we know nothing about how to use a computer, text based or without nice big giant buttons with your mouse and you're clicking, and then there's another thing that I'm just saying, like big buttons, clicky, right? There was a thing of Thor was talking about how, I don't know if you know him. He's Pirate, Pirate, Pirate Software. I think his YouTube channel is called. Anyway, he's talking with a few other groups of people where they were talking about how they were getting reminiscing a story of how they were at a convention, right? They were doing some sort of like kids can come and play video games. I don't remember if I don't know if it's a convention or what. I don't remember, but or they just like hosted some gaming LAN party. Anyway, all it was they had a monitor and a keyboard and a mouse, right? And every kid couldn't figure out the keyboard and a mouse, and so eventually they realized, or they had a keyboard and mouse and they had a controller, and no kid could figure out the keyboard and mouse. Like all the kids were just like, so many kids couldn't figure out the keyboard and mouse. So they go, okay, so we'll buy a second controller. Okay, that's fine, totally fine. So they go out and get a second controller, put it there. You had a whole separate group of kids who went up to the screen and were like, click, click. Why is it not? What? Why can't I click this? Why is this not touchscreen? Why is it not like my iPad? And they realized, oh my gosh, kids have no idea how to use a computer. Kids don't know what a computer is in the sense that they don't know how to use a computer. They know how to use an iPad or a touch device. It's crazy. I'm saying that in the sense that big buttons, like we as people don't know how to use any type of like text anything. We've been conditioned to and been babied into giant big UIs with very easily recognizable like skeuomorphism too, to a certain point too. If you're going with Apple, there's a lot of skeuomorphism where things look like they were before, or the names are labeled with things that like we understand from the real world, or they're obsolete things that we used to use, like save icon is a floppy disk and stuff like that. And like, oh my gosh, we don't know how to use it. Like, that's what I'm saying. If you, that's the thing. And that's like the one reason. There's two things that are stopping people from just completely getting on Linux. One is, if they have to touch gaming is like, oh, it doesn't work well for me. Or that one software that they use is like, oh, but it won't work for me. Or they bought a license for like Microsoft Word, and they're like, but I can't use my Microsoft Word now. Or they use Adobe or something, right? Adobe software. And the other one is, if they have to touch the terminal at all, there are people like my mother and my father. They don't want to take the time. They have no time. My brother, who has no interest in learning how to use a terminal for anything. Terminal can go shove it up, doesn't care. Go screw off. Like, go die in a hole. They're like, no. And I'm telling you, like, it's surprising how much they just, like, they don't need, like, my parents, who both have Linux Mint laptops, have never touched the terminal once. I did the whole initial thing where I, like, sudo update, sudo upgrade, and all that stuff. And then I did something else for my dad through the terminal. But they have never touched the terminal once. So for them, they're a very good example of, you just don't need the terminal. The terminal is just not a thing you need. You don't need to touch the terminal. It's not a thing where you have to touch it for any reason. Also, if your first line of defense, or not line of defense, if you look up something and the first thing you get is everybody telling you, well, use a terminal. You have to learn terminal. Stupid. Like, come on. Blah, blah, blah. Also, the community is the other reason why people don't use Linux. So, wait, let me finish that. If the terminal is, if you're told that the way to do it is a terminal, and the only way, like, oh, the proper way, like, the real way, the right way is the terminal, right? The problem there is, like, well, then people get turned off. They're like, no, I don't want to touch the terminal. I don't want to have to touch the terminal, right? The other problem is that there's a third problem, which is a less common problem and a less prevalent problem and a less like egregious problem. But it's the community going, belittling you or gatekeeping or badgering you. But there's the other side too of that coin where they start going, no, it's fine, it's great, it's perfect. Just get you the Linux. Yeah, no, I'll walk you through the whole thing, and then it's all complicated, and it's way too complicated and convoluted, and it's a mess. You know what I mean? So you know what I'm talking. Like it's that kind of like, oh, but it's not as easy as they made it out to be. All I'm saying is, right? It's the community's, like, one of the problems is the community. The community does this, like, like they push people away in both being like too open to, oh no, it's so easy, and then the other side where it's like, well, no, you're an idiot. Well, you got to do it this way. You got to do this really complicated, convoluted way with 10,000 commands in the terminal and dozens of commands in the terminal and be a computer hacking wizard, a computer wizard, you know, a Linux master, a Wendell of Linux. It's like, oh my god, no, that's what puts people away. Linus talked about it too. He's like, don't be the first don't be the first thing that you tell me when I look something up. Be the terminal. That's stupid. That should be like the last way I need to do something. That's the other problem. He talked about it. He talked about it like, but if you're just telling me, okay, the first thing to do is always open the terminal because it's, you know, superior and it's power user moves. Like, no, I don't care. I don't want that. Give me the GUI user interface version, the graphical user interface, the user interface version. Give me the big bright buttons I can click. Not, I gotta write some code and I gotta know what I'm doing here. Like, no, stop it, okay? I'm not saying that you shouldn't tell me that if it gets to that point where it's like, oh, I just have to use the terminal, right? Well, there's nothing I can do now. I gotta use the terminal, right? No. Yeah, okay, fine. That's fine. Totally fine. My problem is that they always tell it to you, or you get like forums where it's, or Reddit posts where it's like, yeah, use this command. And then you're like, well, wait a sec. Then you stop for 30 seconds and go, wait a sec, but I don't even know what that command does. You could be, like happened to me, you could be giving me, you know, viruses and ransomware and Trojans and whatever. It could be just adware and annoyware. Like, what's it called? WinRAR. Apparently somebody said, WinRAR is a virus. And I go, what? And you go, or malware, and I go, what? Yeah, it's annoyware. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Anyway, all I'm saying is, the reason people are not going to get into Linux is the one software they want to use, gaming, the terminal, and the community. That's one thing I think this year is going to be the year of, like, people realizing within the next, maybe I'll say for Linux about the next 2 years. But this year is very much the year of people trying to figure out what's the point, what's the use case for AI. And then they're going to realize, oh, I can run this locally. Or I could figure out how to run this locally. Like, or I can get my friend or my son or my nephew, my uncle, whatever, the smarter person in my life, the tech person in my life to run. If I really want an LLM or a AI, I can just do it locally. Like, if you watch PewDiePie's video, he's very in depth about how, like, oh yes, he's running his own. Although he has like 5 or 7 GPUs, it's kind of insane. Also, but he's loaded, so he can afford that, so it's fine. But all I'm saying is, he's like running local LLMs. There's a video about Jake Tybee, the guy who used to work at Linus Tech Tips. He used to work at LMG. Yeah, so like Jake Tybee had made a video. The guy used to work at Linus Tech Tips. He made a video about, or LMG, right? And he talked about, he's making a video about, he had 4 Mac studios, I think, and he was doing like local AI stuff. And it was like, okay, wow, this is incredible how we can run all this stuff locally, and it's incredible. And he's like, your phone could probably run a LLM, a AI. I'm like, I don't know about that one. Because he says, like, the laptop you have, the computer you have, the phone you're watching this on probably could run a AI. And I'm like, I don't know about that one. I don't know if I go that far. I don't know if I go that far, but yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. You're saying, like, it's not hard to do that locally. If you really want AI, just do it locally. It's not crazy hard, and also it'll stay local, and you can create it your own way, and you can give it because the fundamental basics of like the shell of an AI, they exist. You can just go get Lamb from Meta, or you can get this or that from other people, Perplexity stuff, and all these other people, right? Right. And then you could just feed it whatever, like, you can have it learn off of whatever information you want it to learn. Because he's like, he did this, PewDiePie in the video had a section where he was like, look, okay? He was like, it's not a good one if I don't give it the internet. But I give it the internet, and it's, like, smart, and it really connects, and it knows, and it, like, looks up stuff. Because you think that they're smart. Because the other problem is that they talk about, Pat Country and we're talking about Ian Ferguson. They were talking about on, CEO podcast, not Second podcast. They were talking about how it's not particularly good because it's not good because it's very much, it's stupid. It just fills in the blanks. That's the other problem. It fills in the blanks. It fills in the blanks too much of being a terrible, because it fills in the blanks. It's like, oh, if the information doesn't know, it just fills in with random whatever. So it's wrong. And Ian was talking about how there are these, like, what do you call it? What are they called? For law firms that are using it, and then, like, no, you can't do that. You can't use it for that. And then he was making the point, Ian was making the point that You can't tell AI your your client's personal information about the case. You can't do that. It's not. No, that's not how it works. You can't do that. And he's like, they like kind of like, what? Huh? Why not? Kind of thing. Why not? No, you can't do that because it breaks attorney-client privilege. But Pat's making the point of, and Ian, look, it just makes up stuff as it goes along. It hallucinates and makes up stuff all the time. You think because it connected to the internet, like Gemini and Bing AI, whatever that's called, Copilot, right? You think that because it connected to the internet, you think, oh, it's going to reference and make sure that everything it's getting is correct. And then there's other times when you say, no, you're wrong, right? You tell them, no, that's actually not correct. And they go, oh, yeah, you're right. I'm wrong. And it's like, because it's here to please you. That's the other problem that people don't understand. It's here to please you. It's here to please you with a nice, pleasant, yeah. And then it can never tell you, I don't know. For some reason, there's two things it never can tell you. It can't tell you you're wrong. No, actually, you're wrong. It has to do some roundabout way of being like, well, actually, yeah. Like, no, stop it, okay? First of all. And second of all, it can't just say, I don't know. It can't give you a straight answer of, I don't know. So it has to make stuff up as it goes along, which is such a baloney thing to do. But it's only because it's programmed to do that. It's only because it's been told, always output an answer. Even if it's wrong, always output something. Which is weird because the other assistants, like virtual assistants, the Siris and the Alexas, Amazon Alexas, and the Google Homes, Google Nows, whatever you want to call them, Google, okay, Googles, were very willing to just be like, they were just like straight up, because they were designed that way, to just be like, no, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know. I just don't know. Like, Siri was the best at, I have no idea what you're talking about. No, sorry, I'm not capable of doing that. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. White? They didn't care. They were like, huh? And that's the thing with these AIs. Everybody's using them. The other thing was, I think it was a video on Instagram that was talking about how we should really be careful and watch it and tell our kids and tell people, like, no, AI is not a search engine. It's not a search engine. Also, speaking of search engines, Google has been destroying itself with that stupid AI overview. Skip the first three things. It's all AI overview baloney. So they destroyed themselves they destroyed Google. Google is not usable anymore because there was a funny thing where an episode of the Waveform podcast, and it was Ellis talking about how we can't even trust and use, and it's not even reliable stuff, AIs, because there were three people who asked the same question and got three different answers. Three slightly different answers. They weren't even crazy off, but they were off enough to be like, no, that's wrong. That's completely different. Like, no, that's different enough. All I'm saying is, I see, the problem is, not all I'm saying. The problem is that the people are using it as, it's a search engine. Oh, it's a search engine, right? It's the same as a search engine. Well, if they said it, it's obviously right. And then they don't even realize that, yeah, but even if it was a search engine, not everything on the internet is correct. It's a funny little quote that my brother used to say. It's, don't believe everything that you read on the internet. Signed, Abraham Lincoln. And then you stop for a second, you go, wait, what? And you're like, oh. So you can't even believe that because it's coming from someone who's been dead 200 years or 100 and whatever X amount of years. And it's from someone where the internet wasn't even remotely in the, even a thought in someone's eye, twinkle in their eye, a thought in their mind. So, yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, so I'm not, even if it was literally just spitting out search engine. The reason people like it is because, unlike a search engine, AI does a very good job of letting you talk to it in natural English, right? In natural language. And then talk back to you in natural language. Not some robotic technical jargon, right? The technical jargon is the worst. People have figured out how to do, search engine typing of search engines. They're like, oh, yes. The search engine is typing. You have to type in the search engine properly, keyword, search engine optimization, figure out how to, write the right thing. 'Cause you're never writing proper English. You're writing, certain words, best, or, this, comma, this, this, these, just three words that come in. Because you're not talking to it in plain English. And that's what people don't like. They're like, and what they like about the AI is, yeah, but it's plain English and it works. It's the same problem as the bad translation of the Bible. Like, I'll tell you right now, I'll be really honest. The Message is one of the worst translations of the Bible because it tries to make it out to be like plain English. Like, oh, it's so much easier. But it changes things way too much to the point of like, that's not what that means at all. That's not that at all. So it's the same problem where like, yeah, but it's plain English and it's easier to understand. And it's like, yeah, but you don't ever graduate. Like, my brother had a big problem with people at summer camp where they were like, yeah, well, it's a good thing to read because it helps me because I can understand it. It's plain English. Yeah, but you never graduate from that to a real translation of the Bible. All I'm saying is this is the same problem. The AIs have the same problem where they never understand. Like they love or people love the AI because it's very easy to talk to them in plain English. That's the thing. If it was 100% accurate all the time and it worked perfectly, yeah, they're wonderful because you can talk to them in plain English. The problem is they're not right. They hallucinate. They get things wrong, and it gets worse and worse as it goes because the problem is that they think it's so well done and they never get enough information or what. I don't know. All I'm saying is it's going to be the year of the Linux desktop. I give that within 2 years. Like within this year and next year, like within the next 2-3 years. People will realize, oh, I don't need, and we'll see a spike go from, okay, what's the market share of people using, let's see, log out, OS market share, here we go, OS market share, operating system market share worldwide, okay, so you've got Windows still climbing no, Android, okay, oh, no, I don't want that, here you go. I want, not version market share. I want all platforms. Desktop here. I want just desktop. So, you've got Windows at an incredibly high, like 70, 80%, right? 70%, right? Then you've got OS X, which is Mac, at a pretty good, like, 14%. Pretty dang good, right? And then, is this Linux? Oh, unknown. What's Linux? Unknown. Where's Linux? Okay, Linux at like 2%, 2.95%, so like 3%. Mac Linux. Here you go. Linux is like just about 3%. Right? Just about 3%, and it's like you're gonna see a huge. You're going to see a huge jump from 3% to something ridiculous like... You're going to see it like up to like 10% or so within the next 2-3 years because everyone's going to realize, oh, I don't want Microsoft spying on me. Oh, I don't want them selling my data. Oh, my computers can't run it and I'm not spending another X amount of money to get a computer that is capable of running Windows 11. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'll just go into Linux. Seriously, it's kind of mind-blowing. It's kind of magical how it just works now for most people. So, and then the other ones, what are the other ones? Like, Chrome OS is like nothing. Nobody cares. It's a steady, like, 0. But that's only because, and the only people who are using it at all are the people who, are people who have it for school. And then the parents, because Linus made a point on the WAN show where he's talking about how, is the year of the Linux desktop, is it Chrome OS? Is that how we're going to get it? Because, oh no, sorry, OS X is not that. Mac OS is blue, and Mac OS is only what? 5%? No way. I feel like it's way more than that. What's OS X? OS X. No, Mac OS X. Yeah, all I'm getting is Mac OS X. All I'm saying is, right, okay, look, let's look at the AI and see if they're right. OS X known as Mac OS X. I don't know what they mean by that, but okay. Right? So he's talking about it like the year of the Linux. Is it going to be Chrome OS? Because is it going to be all the kids in school that have to use a Chromebook because they're told to go get a Chromebook or they're given a Chromebook, and the parents who then are like familiar with Chrome OS, and then when they leave school, like when the kid leaves school, like are done with school, they're familiar with Chrome OS and they stick with Chrome OS. And then the parents are like, oh, well, I know a Chrome OS. Oh, I know Chrome OS, so I'll stick with what I know. I feel like that could be a really big, like, that's the, like, catalyst of, that's where we get Chrome OS. Now, is that a good thing? Not really. And then there's another guy, I don't remember his name, maybe Alex something. All I remember is he did a lot of, like, experiments with computers and computer components, and, like, what happens if you take out a computer, or what happens if you do this, or overheat this, or take off this, or, right? He did a bunch of experiments, bunch of experiments. But the one thing he did once, he made a video of, like, what's the problem with Chrome OS? Is it the software or is it hardware? And he basically installed Chrome OS onto, like, decent hardware, like actually good hardware. And they went and he, like, concluded that his conclusion was, oh my gosh, it's the hardware, not the software. You're putting it in garbage laptops. Like, there's no desktop. That's the other weird thing about Chrome OS. There's no desktop Chrome OS. As in, it's not in PCs, desktop PCs. It's in laptops, for whatever reason. I don't know why they don't want it, but they just don't. And so for some reason, it's like, they don't want it for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't get it. They've, like, cemented it that it's they've, like, everybody, like, knows and recognizes and is aware and knows, like, oh yeah, it's a, what's it called? Oh, it's a laptop OS. Kind of like how Android technically could run on your computer if you really wanted it to. It's just that it doesn't, and it's been designed basically and only been run on portable things, smartphones and tablets. And oh my gosh, for years. Well, I have a big problem with two things: laptops, and I have a big problem with laptops and with tablets. Laptops, because what's the point of buying a laptop when you can't upgrade almost anything in a laptop most of the time? Maybe storage, maybe RAM. But other than that, and even that sometimes you can't do if you're on a Mac or something, All I'm saying is they're kind of terrible for, like, why would you not just buy a PC? Like, the people, because there's a video by Technology Connections talking. Alec is talking about how he loves his laptop. This is like about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. He's like, I love my laptop. My laptop's amazing. I just plug it into a little dock thing, little USB hub or hub that has output on it, and it's great. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the problem here. And he's like, well, I have a big beefy gaming desktop, but I just never use it. I realize, and I just unplug my laptop and I walk out of I go out the door and I have my computer with me, same computer that I did all my other stuff. I'm like, sure. He's talking about how it's not necessarily as powerful, but I don't need it to be as powerful. So I'm like, okay, fair, fine, right, whatever, kind of thing. Like, yeah, okay. The problem is, at least for me, I'm like, yeah, but you can't upgrade anything, and you don't. Anyway, that's just dumb. Like, why would you get that when you can just get a? Also, you're spending just as much money on your laptop, close to $2,000, that you could have on a desktop, and you could also save money on a desktop because you could get used and have used technology, and you have upgrade path. This laptop has no upgrade path. That's one. So that's one thing I have a big problem with in technology. But the other one is tablets and how they're awful. They do the same problem where, unless you're going into the really expensive stuff, it just is awful. It's some of the worst, most garbage stuff you'll ever use. Like, I have a really old, like, budget, I think it's like a Samsung Galaxy Tab A, 2017. Man, is it, like, it's slow and it's kind of useless, but it was slow and I got it. And I got it in, like, 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. So it's like about a year old at the time. And man, it was bad then. My mother just could not use it. She was like, she tried to use it for, like, about a year. And she was like, she came to the conclusion, no way. I cannot deal with it. It is so bad. And I only use it for certain things now, to, like, when I need an extra thing to do something where I don't want it on my phone, or I want to download an app and I want it on my phone. I don't want it on my phone, or I don't want to, like, take up space on my phone. I'll just use it on my tablet. And so I'm like, okay, great. That's fine for me. But, like, and I can deal with the, like, slightly slow because it's not my main daily thing. But I watch things like Short Circuit, and I watch them unbox, like Riley unboxing things like the Samsung tablets, and I'm like, yeah, but at that point you could have just gotten a better computer, right? At that point you could have just got a computer. But then they're talking on Waveform. David's talking about how, yeah, but sometimes you don't want a whole laptop though. You don't want a whole desktop. You don't want a whole thing. You want just a little connect a keyboard into DeX and connect it to your computer. Like, they talked about the docking, the docks, like the lap docks, where it's a laptop, but it doesn't have anything in it. It just has the means to connect it in internally, and has like a USB ports on it. There's no like there's no internals. There's no motherboard. There's no processor, and there's nothing to run anything. You have to have a computer or have a device to connect back into it. And Razer had a thing where they like you slid like your Razer tablet into a Razer phone into like the trackpad, and it like docked it and like took power, like used its processing power from it. So it's like a thing, and yeah, okay, fine. But my good golly, Miss Molly, like, yeah, but like, why? At that point, you could just get a laptop or get a computer. You're spending whatever X amount of money. But the other thing too, some people talk about though is, yeah, but I don't want to spend that money because I already have a phone. That's why people are like, if I have to spend $2,000 on a phone anyway, $1,500 anyway, I might as well get one of those folding phones or the phones that fold vertically, not horizontally. Sorry, horizontally, not vertically. Right? Meaning they become bigger, they don't fold down smaller. Not the flip phone ones, the other ones, the tablet, the small, like the ones that become small tablets. Those kind. Like people think, well, I'll get one of those because at that point, I just have a big laptop and it's also a phone. Because that's the other problem with these tablets. They're not phones. I always thought that there was a big problem with like tablets, like iPad. I've always thought was a dumb product. Where always thought it was a dumb product because I thought it's just a really big iPhone that just can't call people. And then I was like, oh, you can get a cellular version and you can FaceTime people, but you can't actually call. No one's ever going to use it to call. It's massive, humongous, you never know. And then somebody made the point one night where we were in a group like setting. I was at my church for I think it was Christmas Eve, and I believe it's Christmas Eve service. And one guy comes into the group and he goes, "Aha, I got an iPod Touch," and he goes, well, I think the guy asked, okay, why do you get an iPod Touch? He goes, oh, well, I wasn't allowed a phone, or I didn't want a phone, or whatever, right? Whatever reason, or because he was a kid, he was a teenager, so it's like, I don't know if he didn't want a phone, or I didn't want this or that or the other thing, right? Whatever it was, right? Whatever the reason was, or something like that, like I wasn't either allowed a phone, or I didn't want a phone yet, or whatever. And he goes, but you could have just bought an iPhone like 5 or something for whatever, $100. This is like 2015, so, and it's like, yeah, you could have bought it for like $100, and they just not put a SIM in it. And then when you needed a phone, when you're ready to get a phone, you had a phone in you. Now you have to buy a separate device. He's like, this is so stupid. You could now you have to buy a separate device when you want a phone. This is so dumb. And I'm like, and I kind of agreed with him. I'm like, you're right. That makes so much sense. Like, you're making lots of sense. You're cooking. You're spitting facts because like now you have to get another device when you want a phone. That's so stupid. And you're going to never get a phone because everybody has to have a phone. So therefore, you're in this problem of now you have to get a separate device, and that was like what, $250. So you could have bought an iPhone for cheaper and just not put a SIM card in it and not had a phone until you needed a phone. I don't understand these people either, like that now. Because as a kid, I loved the iPod Touch idea because I wanted it for games and all that and music and whatnot. I wanted it for games, to be honest, but I like tried to tell my mother, I'm like, oh, I want it for music, yeah, music, and then she got me a really crap iPod. Really crap MP3 player, and I was like, the avocado kid, Vine was like, avocado, thanks, like, thanks, mom, and she also realized you don't want it for games, you don't want it for music, you want it for games, and we're not gonna have you sit there on games all day. And I was like, okay, great, okay, fine. And then she got me an iPod, an MP3 player, and she like realized. See, you like a really cheap one. He's like, see, you didn't want it for music, you wanted it for games. I'm like, oh yeah. All I'm saying is, ooh, I have music on this. All I'm saying is, I don't get technology, and I'm saying it's the year of the Linux Mint. It's the year of the Linux desktop, and it's within the next 2-3 years, and it's the year of people trying to figure out, well, what's the point? What's the actual point of? Like, what's the real point of, what's it called? Point of, right? What's the real point of, what do you call it? Of, Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. All I'm saying is this year of figuring out what the point of Linux of AIs are. I think that's gonna be for now, guys. So if you want to get in again, if you want to get in contact, there's the email tacoimposters@gmail.com. That's tacoimposters@gmail.com. There's also the what do you call it? There's also the Discord, two Discord servers. There's the what do you call it? There's the two Discord servers. There's stuff like if you want to get listen to my music or download my music or buy my music, then there's my services for like 360 virtual tours. So I think that's gonna be it for now, guys. So adios, mi amigos.